Hey, we're in Psalm 13. We're going to finish Psalm 13 in the next few moments. We left off with one phrase yesterday, verse 5. We saw David's mind and heart begin to turn in verse 5. He's alone. He feels forgotten. He feels forsaken by God. He feels very vulnerable. His enemies are ready to kill him. He's asking God to hear him and respond to him and preserve him. And then he says in verse 5, but I have trusted in thy mercy. Now we see a turn in David's orientation. One minute he's accusing God of forgetting him. Now he's mindful of God's mercy. And he's going, wait a minute, no. I know you haven't forgotten me. I've trusted in your mercy, and your mercy is infinite. Your mercy is perfect. Your mercy is everlasting. It's new every day. And so I've trusted in that mercy. And now he says, look at this, my heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. Because I've trusted in your mercy, I know I'm going to be saved. One way or another, I know I'm going to be saved. I don't know all the details and all the particulars, but I know you're a merciful God. You're good to your word. And you're going to keep me. You're going to save me. You're going to protect me. So I'm going to preemptively rejoice. I'm going to rejoice now knowing it's a guaranteed thing. So David had tremendous confidence and assurance once he oriented his heart, once he reframed, once he turned his view from his human feelings back to the God of his salvation. And so it is with you and me. When we get bogged down in our feelings and our emotions and circumstances, we look down and we get caught in the mire of discouragement and despair, and everything feels dark and hopeless. But the minute we begin to look back to the Lord, crying out to him, trusting him, reframing our hearts and telling our hearts, hey, wait, heart, you've trusted in Jesus, we can begin immediately rejoicing. And that's going to happen spontaneously. You're not going to have to tell yourself. Sometimes you do, but in this context, it's a response to trusting in God's mercy. When you look at your problems, God gets small and seems distant. But when you look at God, your problems get small and his mercy grows immensely. And when you get a glimpse of his mercy, you celebrate, you cheer up. So the answer for cheering up is not always that your circumstances should transpire in your favor, that your problems need to go away. No, the answer for cheering up and being able to rejoice is in your problems. Get a glimpse of God's mercy. Remind yourself of his salvation in your life, and suddenly the problems you're dealing with will be radically downsized. Look at verse 6. David now says, I will. He's asking in the early part of the psalm, how long, how long, how long? Do you notice in verses 5 and 6, he's no longer concerned with how long. Now he's sustainable. And he says, I'm going to rejoice, and I will. All right? Look at it. I will sing unto the Lord, because he hath dealt bountifully with me. Now think about this. David, in one moment, is afraid to go to sleep. Now, if you're so vulnerable to your enemy that you're afraid to go to sleep, I would imagine you'd probably be afraid to sing, too. You'd be afraid to make noise. You'd be afraid to tip off the enemy. But David now has such confidence. He says, wait a minute, I'm trusting you, your mercy, your salvation. I'm going to sing because when I get a glimpse of my circumstances, they're depressing and I feel forgotten. But when I get a glimpse of your mercy, I exult, I rejoice, I celebrate your salvation, and I will sing unto the Lord because he hath dealt bountifully with me. Now, my friend, you cannot look at God, look at Jesus, look at his mercy, look at his word for very long without getting a renewed sense that he has dealt bountifully with you. He has abundantly blessed you, and it does make you want to sing. Now, I will throw in this one comment here, and that is, it's possible that David wrote part 1 and then set it aside, and then thought some more, prayed some more, and wrote part 2, consider in here, and lest mine enemy, and then prayed and slept and rested and journeyed and hid, and it may have been that this happened over days, and then maybe he was delivered, and maybe he sat down and wrote verses 5 and 6 to be a testimony of God's deliverance. I don't know the timing. Doesn't really matter. If it did, God would have told us for certain. The point is, everything changes. Everything changes when you trust in God's mercy. When you look back to Jesus and see his mercy and his salvation, when you see how abundantly he has dealt with you, everything will change. So my friend, take a minute. Think about his mercy. Think about the times he's brought you through very difficult things. And know this, he's going to bring you through again. Happy Friday. We'll see you Sunday or Monday. Have a great weekend.